Welcome to this SportsCenter special presented by Nationwide. Mel Kiper Jr.'s Mock Draft 4.0. As we are 16 days away from the start of the NFL Draft, we have Mel's first two-round mock ready to go as Field Yates and Matt Miller are ready to break down the picks. Speaking of the godfather of the NFL Draft, there is Mel Kiper Jr. Mel is ready to roll, as well as the Titans. They're on the clock. Do we have a surprise at one, Mel?
No, we do not, Kev. No surprises at one. Cam Ward, quarterback out of Miami, to the Tennessee Titans. You think about Cam Ward, you think about the improvement. Cut down on the sacks, right? Cut down on the fumbles, wasn't as reckless and as careless, and took a little bit better care of the football. Didn't put him in his harm's way as much as he had done in previous years. You think about the arm talent, the arm angles he throws from, the escapability, the creativity, not putting as much pressure on the offensive line. An offensive line in Tennessee, who, by the way, has to be a lot better, particularly at right tackle, and they got to catch the ball when it's thrown to them. So they have some things to improve on, which they've done so far in terms of free agency, to allow Cam Ward to have a fighting chance. I will say this. Will Levis, who I know Matt and Field did not like coming out of Kentucky, I had high hopes for. I still have hope that he will compete, and he will compete hard for that job. It will not be given to Cam Ward. He's going to have to earn it. This will be the second year for Will Levis in that offense. He played hurt with the AC joint injury last year. We'll see how it goes. But Cam Ward, yeah, you keep taking the shots at quarterback. We don't know what Will can be. I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball, but I do know he has talent, and certainly Cam Ward does as well. But this is going to be Cam Ward's team eventually, unless Will Levis shocks the world.
Yep. Storyline to watch this summer, guys. Will Levis beats out Cam Ward. And
Cam live on this huge island somewhere in Maryland. We don't know exactly where it is until now. It's called Will Levis Island. You're the only two people that still inhabit that place, Mel. Come on now. Cam Ward goes #1 overall. I don't care if they take 6 months or 6 minutes to name him the starter. He's a Titans Week 1 starter. You could put that one down and
mid-round 2 grade on Will Levis when he came out, by the way. So I was definitely not even vacationing on Will Levis Island. Didn't even get a postcard from Will Levis Island. Everybody told me I was so wrong about him coming out. Well, 2 years later, I'm going to take a victory lap on the Will Levis scouting report. There is no way in this world you draft Cam Ward #1 overall to say, oh, hey, by the way, you're competing for the job with Will Levis, the guy we don't like enough to build a team around with the #1 overall pick, or by trading out and getting extra draft assets. You're replacing him with this pick. Sorry, Will Levis. We're going to see you somewhere else in 2026. I'm sure of it. You'll have a chance to be competing for a job then. But this is Cam Ward's team when they draft him #1 overall.
Hey, Matt, don't put the running shorts on, the running shoes on yet. Don't get all that ready for taking that lap around the track yet, because the race hasn't started. No victory lap yet. A lot of quarterbacks need some time. And, of course, he was hurt. Remember, he had the shoulder injury, and it was the first year in Callahan's offense, who, by the way, would have won the Jacksonville game if he just kicked field goals. And then he got hit at the end of the first half. He got shot up at halftime. Then he had that bad game against Cincinnati when he was hurt. So, again, I understand you have to go with, and you will be more patient with, the quarterback that you handpicked, that's your guy. So now we got GM and head coach.
I just can't believe people were so high still on Will Levis back in Kentucky. Like, what are, I mean, I don't get it.
Will Levis didn't get all that last year because it wasn't their guy. Cam Ward will, and I'm in agreement with you guys. More than likely it will be Cam Ward, but I will say this. Will Levis will compete hard for that job. And like I say, you've been shocked a few times in your life. Maybe again, who knows?
I'm going to say that I think Mel puts mayonnaise in his coffee. He likes Will Levis this much. He is that committed to this quarterback.
Don't go that far, Kev.
Okay.
It's on his pumpkin pie.
It's nice to know we have some limits surrounding the Will
All right,
Levis
guys.
conversation.
Browns pick. If you're a team in the top 10, leave your comments below. I want to know who you want your team to pick.
Well, wow factor. You need juice, right? You need excitement with the fan base. You need a guy who can put touchdowns, light up that scoreboard, get touchdowns, basically be a fear factor offensive weapon, which is what a guy like Travis Hunter will be, and a cornerback who will help a defense that already has guys who can cover on the back end. He'll add to that. Deion said it perfectly. He can't be standing next to the defense on the sidelines with the head coach when your cornerbacks are getting toasted, right? He's got to be out on that field playing. He'll play both ways. I think more offense than defense at Cleveland, because that's exactly what they need. Travis Hunter's ability as a game-breaking, big-time wide receiver is what Cleveland needs most, and he can also be be a heck of a cornerback as well. They'll figure it out, but Cleveland, like I say, gets the best player on my board since August to now has been Travis Hunter.
Do you agree with this? Because he has Abdul Carter sitting there as well, 1 and 2 on Mel's big board. Do you agree with the fit with Hunter in Cleveland?
I may not agree with Mel on the idea that Will Levis is going to compete for the Titans starting quarterback job, but I do agree with him on Travis Hunter being the best player in this year's class. You can play him at wide receiver, you can play him at cornerback. The bottom line is, Kevin, he's going to play both spots in the NFL. It's some amount of snaps per game. This guy has a chance to go down as one of the most unique talents the league has ever seen. Yeah, we can make the comparisons to Champ Bailey or Charles Woodson or Chris Gamble, guys who played on both sides of the ball during their college career. None of those guys were full-time corners and full-time wide receivers. We can sit here and quibble, is he a better corner or is he a better wide receiver in the NFL? The bottom line is this: the ceiling at either spot is Pro Bowl good for Travis Hunter. You don't allow a unicorn to slide past you at number 2 for the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, it's a tough decision here. I think Abdul Carter is the best player in the draft. I would be fine with him as the selection here. Maybe turn that defensive line into a strength when you're in a division with Lamar Jackson. You're in there with Joe Burrow, and the Steelers win 10 games no matter what they do at quarterback, it seems like. So I can make an argument for Abdul Carter here. Again, best player in the draft. Now, there are some questions about injuries with Carter that are creeping up the closer we get to the draft. He had the stress reaction in the foot. He played with a shoulder injury. Those are the types of debates that could be a dividing line in a team's war room. So if you're the Cleveland Browns, one thing that I go back to all the time, this offense was the worst in the NFL last year. And if you tell me I can add Travis Hunter to go with Jerry Jeudy and David Njoku, and hopefully Kirk Cousins comes at quarterback, or they make an addition at the quarterback position, they have to find a way to score some points. So I think you're splitting hairs between these two. Carter, Hunter, both are great players. I do think with the Browns secondary, Denzel Ward, Greg Newsome, Martin Emerson, we're going to see him play wide receiver first. Maybe he plays 10 to 15 snaps a game at corner.
Well, Mel, the Browns, and Matt talked about it, they need a quarterback, and they pass on your number 1 quarterback in this draft, Shedeur Sanders. How do you see this team addressing the quarterback position in the draft?
I agree with Young Fielding on Tyler Shuck going that first pick in the round 2 to the Cleveland Browns. He can spin it. You talk about wind and weather in Cleveland, Baltimore, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh. Think about what Tyler Shuck did this past year. His first season, he was able to complete a full season. Did it back in Oregon. It was only 7 games the COVID year. Texas Tech, 3 years of injury. This year, healthy with Brom there as the head coach. And you think about what he was able to accomplish. Senior Bowl week, Combine. He's the LTPer. He looks the part. 6'5", 220, ran 4.63, and as I said, has the arm strength you look for. So for Tyler Shuck, the team, the division, the elements fits with Tyler Shuck. Now, he'll be 26 in September, but hey, what's 35 to new 30? So at the end of the day, age won't matter. Tyler Shuck, I think, goes somewhere in the second round. Why not to Cleveland if they do pass on Shedeur Sanders, which it looks like they will do at pick number 2.
And Matt brought up the Kirk Cousins
Who
conversation.
do we want, Browns fans?
Listen,
Travis,
Kirk Cousins'
Shedeur,
future, we will know a little bit
Abdul
more
Carter.
in the summer what the Falcons plan on doing. But as of the draft here, if they go Shuck at 33 like you project, as well as Mel, is he a day 1 starter in Cleveland?
Well, he might be, but I still think that the Kirk Cousins situation is going to have some clarity prior to that, Kevin. I believe the draft is kind of the next tentpole date to keep an eye on with Kirk Cousins, because what Atlanta will be able to do at that point is they'll be able to see who got their preferred quarterback targets early and who did not. And if you didn't get your preferred quarterback target early, you might call Atlanta up and say, what's it going to take? It is not going to be inheriting the entirety of Kirk Cousins' contract. Atlanta's going to have to pay down a big portion of that. But you might give Atlanta a 5th-round pick in exchange for whatever portion of Kirk Cousins' salary you are willing to pay. And until Kirk Cousins comes out, or maybe it's on Netflix, I think he's on Quarterback Season 2 once again, and says, I am happy and content to be Michael Penix Jr.'s backup for the 2025 NFL season, I believe Kirk Cousins will play elsewhere this upcoming year, and I believe Cleveland is the overwhelming favorite as his next stop.
Yeah, definitely. Or, hey, maybe they should trade for Will Levis since he's got so much game left, right? But I do like Tyler Shuck here. I do. And I'm with you guys. I had it in my 7-round mock. I did the exact same pick. I think we're all in lockstep on the idea that they have Kenny Pickett there right now. They need a quarterback who can come in and play right away. I think Tyler Shuck has the best field vision of any quarterback in this year's draft. Some of that is because of the experience. He had 7 years in college. He could have earned a doctorate, and he pretty much did in football because his ability to see the field, the game has slowed down for him. I think because of that, he could step in right away, play for this Cleveland Browns team. He's going to give you that arm strength. He's going to give you some mobility. And again, that experience factor is so huge. We saw it last year with Bo Nix, how well he was able to step in and play right away. Tyler Shuck has some of that same ability, guys.
Browns fans been through a lot. I don't know, man. If
guys, I'm going to throw a flag on you, Matt Miller, if you do it one more time. But in terms of this Cleveland Browns,
they trade for Will Levis,
really
some of these people might be out. They might be some Bengals fans.
What do they do at the quarterback spot? We have never seen quarterbacks go 1-2 in the second round. Cleveland Browns obviously have other neat areas, and you got to love the quarterback. And Tyler Shuck did have that injury history at Texas Tech, and he will be 26 during the season. So Tyler Shuck, Jalen Milroe, it's going to be interesting to see. And there's other quarterbacks in that mix as well. So that's about 5 or 6 quarterbacks bunched together. Will Howard coming out of Ohio State, formerly of Kansas State. You got Kyle McCord at Syracuse. Dylan Gabriel had a great year at Oregon. So there's other quarterbacks that are going to be in the discussion, maybe 3rd or 4th round, that maybe could be in the mix for Cleveland if they pass on a quarterback with that first pick in round 2.
All right, we got 2 picks in. The Giants are up next. They need a quarterback, and Shedeur Sanders is still available. Mel, what's the plan here at 3?
Well, you think about Abdul Carter, who is the best player on some boards. I think Matt has him number 1. I have him number 2. Fielding, I think, has him 2. Abdul Carter played off ball and played great at Penn State, then was moved outside and doubled his sack numbers, doubled his tackles for loss numbers at Penn State this year. You say, hey, the Giants got Thibodeau, they got Burns. He did play off ball. And, of course, in that division now with the great Jaden Daniels emerging, right? And you got Jalen Hurts, the dual-threat quarterback. The Eagles coming off a Super Bowl win. Then you think about where we are with this football team, the division. Dak Prescott.
That would be a nasty D-line if they got him, too.
Young gun and Jaden. You got to be able to handle those quarterbacks. Abdul Carter adds to a group. Oh, like I already said, on the outside, he can get after the quarterback. He can play off ball or outside. So I think you get the best player, second best player, picking 3. I have Shedeur at 5, Carter at 2. Hey, Giants early round 2. Another team like Cleveland, if you pass on a quarterback, there's going to be quarterbacks in that mix in the second round area.
Matt, would the Giants be wise to pass on Shedeur here for Carter, your number 1 player on the board?
Definitely, and I think the Giants would be wise to not reach for Shedeur. Mel's the highest on him at number 5 overall. I have him at number 25 overall. So there's a big range of opinion on Shedeur Sanders. And I've said for months, bad teams stay bad when they reach in the draft. You can't just reach for need. You can't create a prospect who you want to be there as the 3rd best player in the draft. Don't overthink this. Take Abdul Carter. They have some pass rushers. Brian Burns is the only one that's locked up long term. We've seen flashes from Kayvon Thibodeau, but he could be a 3rd down rusher. And maybe, just maybe, we see Abdul Carter go back to playing a little off-ball linebacker in 1st and 2nd down situations, a lot like Micah Parsons did in his rookie season. So there's a million ways you can spin this for the New York Giants, but building this defensive front, which is how they won a Super Bowl, how they won 2 Super Bowls, let's remember, was that great pass rush that they had. So instead of reaching for a quarterback, I like Mel's idea. Get Abdul Carter here, and then let's talk about a quarterback in round 2 that could be a fit for this team.
I kind of want to talk about Will Levis again because there's been too much agreeing between the 3 of us of late. But yes, there's no such thing as too many layers of pass rush depth. I'm not saying that we have to always use whatever happened in the last Super Bowl as a way to build a roster, Kevin, but your Philadelphia Eagles said to themselves, who cares if we already have a lot of great players on our roster that can rush the passer? Let's just keep on drafting Nolan Smith at 31 and taking a swing, even when it whiffed, on Bryce Huff. Just keep finding guys that can impact the quarterback. You give yourself a much more credible chance to win football games.
Yeah, Jalex Hunt just continue to add depth to that roster. Mel, just like the Browns here, you have the Giants addressing the quarterback situation later in the draft. Who will they be selecting in round 2?
Yeah, if you could draw up the perfect quarterback for what Field Yates is looking for in a quarterback these days in the NFL, it's a dual-threat guy who can run around and create, right? It's Jalen Milroe, 6'2", 217 pounds of granite. Granite is Jalen Milroe, ran 4.37. You know about a guy who has unbelievable ability as a running quarterback, dual threat. He's got a rocket arm, right? He was 10 touchdowns, only 1 pick after 4 games, which included the Georgia Bulldogs, where he was phenomenal, right? After that, he was against, 1A competition, only 4 touchdowns and 10 picks. Take out the Mercer game where he had 2 touchdowns. 4 touchdowns, 10 picks. He had 3 games where his completion percentage was bad, was low. So again, he didn't finish strong. He didn't build off that great start and that great game against Georgia, but he's got awesome talent. He's a great kid who wants to learn and get better. So if you can coach him up, Brian Daboll had Josh Allen coming out of college. I loved him. A lot of guys didn't. okay? But the bottom line is he was patient, and they developed Josh into the great quarterback he is. Will Jalen Milroe have that kind of upside? Will he do what Josh did? Who the heck knows? But the talent is there to take a shot early in round 2.
Here's what I don't know about Jalen Milroe. I think the range for Jalen starts around pick 33, Kev, which is the Browns one spot ahead of the Giants. I think the range extends to maybe like pick 75 or even closer to 100. It's somewhere in there. Wide range. What I don't know is where he specifically lands. What I do know is that whoever takes him better have a plan, and they better have some patience. All right, the best version of Jalen Milroe is terrific. Even Lamar Jackson, a guy who nearly won his 3rd MVP in 7 seasons last year. He barely played early on in his NFL career when Joe Flacco was under center for Baltimore. This was not peak of his powers, Joe Flacco. This was Joe Flacco hanging on by a fingernail to still be a quality NFL starter, Joe Flacco. If you draft Jalen Milroe, you better have a plan of how you're going to integrate him into your offense. The running skills are dynamic. The downfield throwing can be very good. A lot of layers to his game that you still have to develop. I hope the Giants are patient in this scenario.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest Milroe guy. I think this is about 40 picks too early for where I would have him ranked. And to Mel's point, is he a good fit for Brian Daboll? Yeah, absolutely. Is Brian Daboll going to be the head coach of the New York Giants in a year? They're fighting for their lives right now to keep those jobs, Daboll and Joe Schoen. So I love the idea of let's get him behind Russell Wilson for a year or two, let him develop. But this franchise right now can't trust that they're going to be the people who are still in power in 1 year. So even at pick 34, that's a little rich for me on Milroe. But also, this is a team, if they take a quarterback at 34, I think they have to be more ready to play right away instead of somebody that is going to be a run threat right out of the gate probably in packages, but as a passer, as somebody seeing the field, getting things out on time, Milroe's just not ready to come in and be that guy.
And to your point, how much pressure is on the Giants front office and the head coach? Their 14 losses last season, the most in 100 years as an NFL franchise. To the draft. Welcome back to Mel Kiper's Mock Draft 4.0.
All right, so who are the Pats
and the
taking
Patriots
if we're not taking
interesting
Shador?
spot here
We
at
trading
4.
back?
Now, what do they do?
Well, it's interesting, Kev, because Shador Sanders was not taken, and that prevented them from getting Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter. Now you go left tackle, you go Will Campbell. Why over Armand Membo? Armand Membo out of Missouri is a right tackle guard. Remember, J.C. Latham was a right tackle at Alabama. Tennessee drafted, moving to left tackle, didn't work out very well. Will Campbell, natural left tackle, doesn't have ideal arm length, but it's do you maximize the arm length you have? He's been able to do that and get away with it at LSU. Drake May's got to be protected. Left tackle is a major problematic area for them. They cannot go into the season with what's going on there at that spot. Will Campbell be the immediate starter at that spot, and if he can't compete there at left tackle, then you can move him inside. But no mistake about it, if you draft Will Campbell at 4, he's got to be your left tackle. You're not drafting Will Campbell to be a guard. He's being drafted at 4 to be a left tackle and that blindside protector for Drake May.
Matt, with Shador Sanders still on the board, if you're the Patriots, you have a lot of holes in your roster. You're looking at value. Do you pick up the phone and call teams around the league about potentially sliding down a little bit later on in that
100%.
top 10,
if we can stay in that top 10
and get a tackle, but also get some value there on the back end. What would you do?
Yeah, I would love to pick up the phone and call people, but number one, who are you going to call and who are they coming up for? If it's for Shador Sanders, the Saints at 9, I wouldn't be comfortable sliding back that far because you could miss out on the top tackle with the New York Jets sitting there at pick number 7. So, yeah, in an ideal world, you would trade out of number 4. I don't see a logical spot to move back and stay in this range of blue chip players, which I think Will Campbell is a blue chip player. I'm not worried about the arm length concerns. I think he is plug and play on the left side. His mobility, his production, the character that you're getting, the instincts that you're getting. So sure, you would love to slide back to 6 or 7 and maybe still be able to get Will Campbell. I just don't know who that team is that's going to come up for. You don't trade up for a running back. You're not trading up for Ashton Jeanty. And I don't see the urgency from teams to trade up for Shador Sanders.
You know, we've talked so much, perhaps endlessly, about the arm length, Kev. I think that one thing that's perhaps been overlooked is everything else that Will Campbell brings to the table. And if you think about what the archetype, the prototype of a Mike Vrabel football player is, you want a guy who's tougher than a $2 steak, who's going to get everything that he has within his frame, who's going to put the team first in every way, shape, and form. 3 years of outstanding film from Will Campbell, in part because of all of those traits. I think Will Campbell wouldn't just be a pick the Patriots would make in this scenario. I think they would make so with a smile across their face, Kev. I really do believe this team feels as though the need plus the value aligns with Will Campbell, number 4.
By the way, if you turn the tape
I think it's
on,
really
Campbell's
obvious,
doing
too,
it
that
in
like
the
Mike
SEC
Vrabel
against
wants
the
to build
best
out
of
the
best on
trenches.
those
So if
defensive fronts.
Carter
All right,
and
Shedeur
Hunter are
Sanders
gone
still
at
on the
4,
board.
Vrabel's
Mel,
going to
take us
pick a
through picks
trenches
5
player.
through 8,
And
starting
we
with the
definitely
Jaguars.
need a left tackle. So
Yeah, first of all, I've never had a $2 steak down
long
here
as
on
he's
the
good,
island,
I don't
but
care.
Let's go to pick number 5, Mason Graham, Michigan Wolverines. He's been projected there basically for the last 3 or 4 months. Mason Graham has, because he's a solid player. You know what you're getting. Don't overthink it. You need a defensive tackle, you take him. They couldn't run the ball with Vegas, right? You're going to get a guy who could be Rookie of the Year, and Ashton Jinty out of Boise State going to the Raiders. And Armand Membo with a right tackle, plug and play. Matt said that's left tackle. Will Campbell for New England. So is Membo for the Jets at right tackle. And Jalen Walker, versatile linebacker. You can play him off ball, you can play him off the edge. That's what they need at Carolina, help at that position.
Okay, so now we're sitting at number 9 here. And the pick is in. The Saints are selecting whom, Mel?
Shedeur Sanders, and it makes perfect sense. With you got a new coach in Kellen Moore, you got a dome team. Keep in mind, it's where Drew Brees did all his damage, right? In that dome, coming off, remember that shoulder injury? That's why Miami went Dante Culpepper over Drew Brees. It helps. And certainly with Shedeur Sanders, Atlanta's a dome, and they got Carolina and Tampa. Hopefully nice weather there. Shedeur Sanders checks the boxes that are important. Talk about ability to hang tough in that pocket, incredible toughness. Ball placement, accuracy, precise passing, has all that. He has the calm, poised demeanor. He's great in the clutch, great in 2-minute situations. So when you need big plays, you need a drive, he can do it. Shedeur Sanders, yes, he's not 6'4". Yes, he doesn't run a 4.6 40. Yes, he can't throw the football through the side of a mountain. So some teams may not like that in a top 10 pick. I think the Saints at 9, it'll be more palatable because he's at 5 on my board. That's what you want. If you're picking 9, you want somebody inside of 9 when you're bored. You don't want to go 9 down to 16, as Matt suggested, and reach for anybody. Shedeur Sanders at this spot would still be a reach for some, not for me, and I think the Saints would be the ideal fit. New coach, handpick your quarterback.
Yeah, Kellen Moore with that offense, too. And Colorado, by the way, held their pro day last Friday. Yeah. Shedeur Sanders putting on a show in that showcase. Field was there, able to speak to both Shedeur as well as his dad, the head coach of Colorado, Deion Sanders. Let's take a listen.
All I need is opportunity. Simple. Whatever franchise want to change their franchise, and there's no doubt who to go with. I've done it over and over and over, so you'll be a fool not to pick me.
He's been bred for this. He's been trained for this. He's a Darren Sanders. That comes with ridicule and ignorance and adolescence comes with that. But we're built for this. If it's anybody built for this moment, built to go to a team that's really not good and take it to the next level, it's him.
Field, you were there. You saw with your own eyes. What was your takeaway from watching Shedeur, as well as the buzz you were hearing because all 32 teams were there?
Yes, and Mel said that Shedeur Sanders can't throw the football through the side of a mountain. I did watch him throw footballs alongside mountains, though, out there in Boulder, Colorado. Beautiful place in the country. If you have never had the chance to visit, I do encourage it after my 24 hours there. Kev, it was as expected, right? The accuracy was really good. The ball rarely touched the ground during the 63-throw session that Shedeur Sanders had, along with several of his teammates that he believes, and I think, have a chance to get drafted as well. The accuracy was really good. The arm strength was just fine, right? It was just sufficient. That's kind of been the book on Shedeur Sanders that Mel just mentioned. But let me just say this. Independent of some of the football skills, if you think that this is a quarterback who might go to a bad team, which, by the way, picking in the top 10, you're a bad football team, and he's going to be scared by the challenge that's ahead, you've got the wrong guy, because Shedeur Sanders radiates confidence. It was very clear in talking to him and seeing him in the way that he interacts. This pro day, for the first hour plus, sounded like, it was like a disco, like the music was blaring. And then all of a sudden, when the throwing session began, Kevin, all the music dropped, and you could hear, it was like eerily quiet. You could hear a pin drop inside that indoor facility. Shedeur Sanders was completely in command of the moment. Some of the intangibles there are impossible to teach, which I think is part of the reason why he does give you a chance to eventually win at the NFL level. Number 9, to me, not a bad reach, given that I have him 16th on my big board overall.
Yeah, Field, I wasn't at the pro day. I'm not a big pro day guy when it comes to quarterbacks because they're so structured and scheduled and rehearsed, but it is all about the interviews. I think that is a huge part for him because he is a very confident, poised young man. His toughness is incredible. I think he's the most accurate quarterback in this draft, which is what I go back to with the New Orleans Saints. You're hoping that you get Chris Olave back. You have some weapons on offense. They drafted Talise Fuaga last year from Oregon State. He'll be the left tackle of the future there. You have some pieces. And I think most importantly for Shedeur Sanders, you have a head coach in Kellen Moore who played quarterback in college, played quarterback in the NFL, and he's been around the NFL for a long time and knows how to bring along a young quarterback. That is so instrumental in how productive and successful these young passers can be. So I love the fit of Shedeur with Kellen Moore, someone who is going to understand how to develop him, how to tutor him, how to bring him along. You also have Derek Carr here. So for a year, Shedeur Sanders maybe doesn't have to play. Maybe we don't see him until Thanksgiving. If the Saints are out of the playoff picture, then maybe he gets on the field. But this is an offense, again, if Chris Olave is healthy, there's some weapons here. There's some pieces here. That's what Shedeur Sanders needs. He can be a great point guard. Give him guys he can distribute the ball to. Give him some time to play in the pocket, and he can carve folks up.
His personality, too, he's the type of guy that can galvanize a locker room. Men will follow him because he is not afraid of the moment. I do want to get one thing, though, out of the way. A lot of stuff on social media, watching the showcase, patting the football.
Yeah.
Mel, I want to get your thoughts on that. A lot of people talking about, hey, he keeps on patting the football before he makes the throw. Anything to that? Are some
Tom Brady
people just
did it.
looking way too much into that conversation?
Yeah, I never saw any problem with him with Colorado. Watch the tape of Shedeur Sanders and watch the way he played when he got guys in his face. He got pressured. He got hit more than any quarterback in college football. And a lot of them were just blown blocks, Olay blocks, where he had no shot. Yet he hung in there. And guess what? He had the highest completion percentage of anybody playing college football. He's not the first one we've had people say exactly that about when they throw the football. And another thing with Shedeur, I think goes unnoticed about this pro day, people don't even talk about, is what he was saying about, hey, the receivers were out there running. I had to try to make it easier for them. I'm just throwing the football. Hey, I don't need to throw a 100-mile-an-hour fastball all the time. I got to make it easier for my receivers. Shedeur is already about that next level, about taking care of the players on his team and those receivers and making it easier. So he gets it. He just has, as Theon said, that it factor. It goes beyond the physical and athletic skills. So to the point, Kev, we can nitpick. We can say all we want about Shedeur. We don't know how this is going to play out 3-4 years from now. Some will already make a decision in year 2 on quarterbacks, which is ridiculous, Matt Miller, but some will. But I think if you give Shedeur time, in 3 or 4 years, we'll see how it plays out. Josh Allen was called overrated still till last year. People were hating on him after year 2. So let's let it play out a little bit. Shedeur Sanders, I think, will be a heck of a quarterback in this league. And I said it about Tom Brady. You got to protect Shedeur.
Yeah.
And you got to protect all these quarterbacks. Yeah. Patrick Mahomes did nothing in 2 Super Bowls when he wasn't protected. So even the great one, Patrick Mahomes, is reduced to mediocrity without those guys up front.
Oh, my goodness. Our guy is so fired up, and we're still in the B block. Keep in mind, Shedeur Sanders' numbers against the blitz much improved last season. We'll see how that translates to Sunday. Back to Mel's Mock 4.0 special. The Bears are up here on the clock. Mel, how does this team help Caleb Williams with the 10th pick overall?
Yeah, get a weapon on offense. We say, well, you need a third wide receiver. You got these hands. Contested catches go his way. Run after the catch ability. Outstanding for Tyler Warren as well. Tyler Warren is a weapon. Brock Bowers last year saw what he meant to the Raiders, went pick 13. Not too high for Tyler Warren. He's kind of
How good do you guys think Tyler Warren's about to be?
Is the top tight end in this draft. His rating is inside of the 10th pick. Yes, they could use a defensive tackle on edge or a running back, but they have 2 picks, 39 and 41 in round 2 to address those positions. Get the weapon, help out Caleb Williams. Go get Tyler Warren at pick number 10.
Yeah, I'm a big Tyler Warren fan, and they need a third option in this passing game. Imagine the 12 personnel with Cole Kmet and Tyler Warren, and you can move him around. They did it at Penn State. He can play in line. He can play flexed out in the slot. He can light up in the backfield. This guy threw a touchdown last year as well, so this is just an offensive weapon. For Ben Johnson, we saw the creativity when he was in Detroit. This is going to be your Sam Laporta, someone that can do the dirty work on underneath routes, but a very, very good athlete who can make people miss when he has the ball in his hand. So I love this pick, Mel.
This is my favorite fit of the draft. I love the pick. I love how you can see it come together. Also, cold weather from Penn State to Chicago. All right, take us through picks 11 and 12. Let's go with the 49ers and then the Cowboys.
Here's a player, Will Johnson, who didn't finish out the year healthy, but when he was at Michigan, remember, he only played in 6 games this past year. He's got the length, the athleticism, the anticipation in terms of coverage that you want. He was an interception waiting to happen at Michigan. 9 career interceptions, 3 career pick six. Like I said, only played 6 games this past year. There's an area they could use some help. Will Johnson, you thought maybe back in early mid-September until he was injured, could be a top 10 pick guaranteed, maybe even top 5. He gets down to 11 for the 49ers. Now, when you talk about running back position for the Dallas Cowboys, it's a need, right? So is wide receiver. But when I look at Amarian Hampton, a complete back, they've taken Zeke Elliott. They talked Emmitt Smith in the first round. Amarian Hampton, he didn't drop in production without Drake May. He had more rushing yards. His average per carry at 5.9 was exactly the same. His 15 touchdowns, exactly the same. He had more receptions this past year. A complete back who can be a game breaker, a plug-and-play running back who can do everything you need.
Was Drake May holding Amarian Hampton back?
To be an immediate starter. And right there with Genty is maybe one of those Rookie of the Year candidates fielding.
I just can't get there, Mel. I think that Amarian Hampton's a really good player. He's 26th on my big board. When I watch Ashton Genty and I watch Amarian Hampton, I just see a bigger gap than 6 picks in the first round between those two players. So to me, I continue to believe that 12 for the Cowboys needs to be a position. It's either Ashton Genty or a more premium spot, wide receiver like Tedero McMillan or Matthew Golden, whether they want a pass rusher or a pass protector. I can't get on board with a player who I think is really good. He's a really, really good prospect at running back. I think he's more of a 20 to 32 range player as opposed to number 12 overall. We have seen this player differently throughout the process.
And this is a draft where you could see a ton of value in day number 2 at the running back position. All right, let's take a look at the next batch of picks here, starting with the Dolphins at 13, Mel.
Offensive line was tempting. Kelvin Banks Jr. had that at 18. You could look with Armstead retiring. But, hey, Patrick Paul was drafted in the late 2nd round, possibly as the heir apparent, so he's going to be in line for that spot. Janae Barron is a guy who can play anywhere in the secondary, and that's what they need. Miami has a big problem there in that division dealing with Josh, and certainly now you got Fields coming in. You think about what New England with Drake May and the AFC in general. Barron's a need fills a need area for the Miami Dolphins. Colston Loveland, they haven't had that tight end. Dallas Clark, they need that weapon, whether it's Anthony Richardson or Daniel Jones, pass rusher off the edge, and Mike Green. I almost had Matthew Golden to Dallas, have him to Arizona. Jahad Campbell off the shoulder injury to the Bengals, who got to go defense heavy in this draft. And then Kelvin Banks Jr., the left tackle, thought in August to be a top 10 pick, drops to 18, and the great talent, Nick Eamon-Ward, add to that secondary at Tampa Bay. And you mentioned him. Matt was talking about Tedero McMillan, T-Mac to Denver for an offense. It's all about making Bo Nix great. They had that guy you can just throw it up to a la Drake London with Tedero McMillan in Denver. It drops down to that spot. Matthew Golden gained a lot of momentum during the year, had 9 games of 20-plus yards per catch average, ran that 4.29. That's why Matthew Golden's up ahead right now of Tedero McMillan.
Let me just say this, Mel. I don't think that Kelvin Banks going number 18 overall is some crazy thought. And we've talked about him from the beginning of this process. But you reminded me, Mel, at one point, that sometimes your first mock draft can be your best mock draft because you're not overthinking it that much. I think there's a chance by the time we get to April 24th, we've kind of come full circle on Kelvin Banks, and he ends up somewhere in that first dozen, 12, 13, 14, 15 selection. So a guy that I have my eyes on amongst that panel from picks 13 to 20.
Okay, let's continue the conversation. The Steelers are up. The pick is in, Mel. Who's heading to the Steel City?
Yeah, you thought quarterback, but you hear maybe not, unless it's Shedeur Sanders. And if Shedeur drops down, do they move up? They don't have that 2nd-round pick, but they could give up future picks. We'll see if they remember. Ben Roethlisberger fell in their lap. You think about Aaron Rodgers fell in Green Bay's lap. Sometimes these sliding quarterbacks just slide down further than expected. But Derek Harmon fills a need. Cam Hayward can't play forever, right? Great player, Hall of Famer. Derek Harmon can groom there, learn from Cam Hayward. 6'4.5", 313 pounds, ran 4.95. Great 10-yard time and incredibly long arms. And at Oregon this year, after not doing a lot at Michigan State, he was really disruptive in the backfield with sacks, tackles for loss, and those disruptive plays. So for Derek Harmon, it all came together this year at Oregon. Like I said, he learned from Cam Hayward, fill that need area, and then the Steelers, obviously, at quarterback, if Shedeur's around, it's going to be really interesting to see what they do.
Interesting.
So who's
here,
about
Matt.
to take Jackson
Mel brought
Dart
up
then?
The idea
I was
Ben
told he's a
Roethlisberger
top 10
falling
pick.
into the Steelers' lap. You can make the case here while the world waits for Aaron Rodgers to decide his next destination that, hey, there's a quarterback, Jackson Dart, falling into their lap. Hey, should the Steelers consider a quarterback here regardless of Rodgers' status with the team?
Yeah, absolutely. We've watched Aaron Rodgers play the last 2 years, right? This is not peak Hall of Fame Aaron Rodgers. This is the end of the run. He's going to be 42 years old this year. I would take Jackson Dart here. It's a slight reach on my board, but not big enough to where you're questioning it. And what else is Pittsburgh going to do? They mismanaged the end of Roethlisberger's career. They had to take Kenny Pickett way too early. I think you take that swing at the quarterback spot early here. The good news for Jackson Dart is he can sit for a year or two behind Aaron Rodgers. And I think there's going to be some time for him to transition from that Ole Miss offense where everything was predicated on the RPO. Everything was built around play action, but he has the arm talent. He has the mobility. He has the character. Scouts rave about him as a leader, as a person. I think this is the time for Pittsburgh to get their guy. And I'm glad you're showing Field because I know he wants to take his victory lap. The running shoes stay on for Field because he had this like a month ago. Field, you had it. I got to give you credit for it.
I want to say it was maybe like around Thanksgiving, Matt. It might have even been back in September. I can't quite recall, but thank you for bringing up the fact that I did believe Jackson Dart going 21 overall was a real possibility, and I'm good with it here. It's a double-barreled outcome for me. If Pittsburgh does sign Aaron Rodgers, as Matt was just talking about, this is not peak Aaron Rodgers. He's going to be 42 in December. He is year to year. That much we know about Aaron Rodgers. I'm fine if they have conviction on Jackson Dart, taking him to give him a year to learn behind Aaron Rodgers. And while Aaron Rodgers eventually left Green Bay, in part because the team took Jordan Love, we also know he was a great mentor to Jordan Love. Those two have a very good relationship. So despite the frustration towards the organization, he helped Jordan a significant amount. And if they don't have Aaron Rodgers, which as of the time of this conversation, they don't, then who are you starting? I am not buying the idea that Pittsburgh is trying to sell us that they're comfortable with Mason Rudolph as their quarterback for 2025. If they're comfortable, then their losing streak in the postseason is going to go from 5 games to 6 games if they even make it.
And by the way, that fan base
I was going to say they're not making the playoffs.
No identity on the offensive side at this moment, but Jackson Dart is still on your board here. Let's go picks 22 to 25. Mel, let's start with the Chargers. What do they do?
Yeah, they go Gray Zabel, versatile offensive lineman. They're making some changes along the interior. He's obviously going to be a great guard, center prospect on the guard for the Chargers. Michael Williams drops down this far with the ankle injury to Green Bay. Need that edge guy. Could also use a corner. And Donovan Jackson, the left guard spot, is somewhere where he would be an immediate starter as a rookie, an upgrade. And it's all about making J.J. McCarthy great in Minnesota. Josh Connerly Jr., same thing with the Houston. The offensive line's being basically restructured completely. This is a young left tackle with a lot of talent.
All right, what I noticed. Continue. You hear the chime. Time now for the Rams to make their pick here at 26. Mel, could Matthew Stafford's heir apparent fall to L.A. here?
Yeah, that domino effect takes over. Ahead Jackson Dart going 9 to New Orleans in mock 3.0. Now he drops to 26. Why? Because I have Shador now at 9. Then you get into no man's land for quarterback. 21 Pittsburgh passes on a quarterback, and here he is. It's not when you go, it's who you go to. And here Jackson Dart goes to Sean McVay. Just like Bo Nix went to Sean Payton, you have a chance now with Matthew Stafford there, Hall of Famer to learn from, to sit, watch, learn. Aaron Rodgers dropped to 24. Sat for 3 years behind Brett Favre. Jordan Love went 26, right? Sat and waited for Aaron Rodgers and learned. So again, for Jackson Dart, the right spot, the right team, and the right person in Sean McVay to really be in that offense field and develop and not have to be force-fed coming out of that RPO offense.
Amen to this one here, Mel. Yes, I'm sure Jackson Dart will be a bit disappointed because the reality is he won't start for at least one season in Los Angeles as long as Matthew Stafford is healthy. But as far as the full career trajectory of Jackson Dart, there may not be a better single spot for him to land than with Sean McVay, where he can learn from one of the best quarterback tutors in the entire NFL. A coach who is innovative, a coach who is a quarterback developer, a coach who understands that he can win with different types of quarterbacks, albeit in smaller sample sizes. But he helped get Baker Mayfield ready in a day, Kevin, for a Thursday night football game that they ended up winning. Jared Goff previously and Matthew Stafford now. This would be, for the career of Jackson Dart, an incredible landing spot, even if he wants to play right away as a rookie.
No, this is a really fun fit because of the scheme. And even once Jackson Dart acclimates from that Ole Miss offense, McVay, it's all about touch, timing, separation. That's what Jackson Dart is best at. He does throw an underrated deep ball, but I love the mobility aspect here, getting that back into Sean McVay's offense. So having this situation where I do think Matthew Stafford's year to year, Jackson Dart, maybe your starting quarterback in LA in 2026.
You talk about value.
Well,
and
I don't
fit.
know what
This
Jackson
is a
Dart's
home
going to be,
run,
but
no
I
doubt
definitely
about it
like
for
that
Jackson
fit to
Dart
the Rams more than
a
the
place
Steelers. Steelers.
in LA. All right, let's round out the first round
Sounds like
here,
he's
Mel.
going to sit, though.
And let's start with the Ravens at 27.
Oh, there's our boy Shamar Stewart. I was told he's top 10
heck of a
too.
football player, and Malachi Starks didn't have the great season expected, but is a heck of a football player with a great football IQ. Donovan Ezeraku, that edge rusher, coming to the Detroit Lions. Great bend, great closing speed. Did a heck of a job with 16.5 sacks this past year. Shamar Stewart's polarizing. 1.5 sacks, only 4.5 over his career. No sacks the last 7 games of each of the last 3 seasons. But what do the Commanders need? An edge rusher. Develop him. Max Hairston out of Kentucky to the Bills. They need cover guys on the back end. They also can get a safety like maybe Xavier Watts, Notre Dame in round 2. Josh Simmons would have gone higher, but injured mid-October. Knee injury coming off that injury. Gets to Kansas City all the way down at 31 as a left tackle that can really help out Patrick Mahomes. Then James Pierce Jr., another polarizing player. Some think he could go mid-first round, some think second round. Here we are at Philadelphia, who finds a way to get these guys in the trenches, off the edge, doesn't matter. The Eagles always do a great job. I think Howie Roseman, certainly Hall of Fame GM, one of the best in the business, one of the best ever, gets James Pierce Jr. at pick number 32.
I like that. I feel really good about where the Eagles are going.
Of course,
right
the Eagles
now.
are a great player at 32.
All right,
They're the
round
Eagles.
1 in the books. We got a round 2.
Ravens
coming
got a
up
great player
after
there
this.
too in Starks.
Hands out, Mel. You got 6 wide receivers coming off the board. Who do you like?
Kevin could add 7 or 8 possibly, but Emeka Ibuka goes to Jacksonville for Trevor Lawrence. Professional receiver, will block, unselfish, and will make the clutch catch as well. Luther Burden III going to New England. You get Will Campbell at early on at pick 4, left tackle. Now you get Luther Burden III, who some thought should have been maybe in the mid to late first round. And Jack Besh going to Green Bay. Reminds me a lot of former Kansas State wide receiver Jordy Nelson, who had a heck of a career with the Green Bay Packers. Expect the same from Jack Besh coming out of TCU.
Ton of value, day 2. Mel's Mock 4.0 on ESPN Plus.
That's
right
an
now.
A-Mock.
For Field, Matt, and Mel, I'm Kevin Nagani. Thanks for watching.